Consider a reality where the entirety of your known existence is violently upended in one solitary, breathtaking instant, where a past you believed irrevocably lost, a past mourned and meticulously filed away, comes surging back into your present with the force of a tidal wave. Deep within the familiar embrace of Heartland, an unforeseen, almost impossible reunion sends tremors through the very bedrock of the life Amy has painstakingly reconstructed for herself and for Lindy. Borden, not a ghost of memory but tangibly, undeniably alive, stands before her, his return materializing in a manner no one could have ever predicted, no one could have ever braced for. But what truly transpires when the individual you were certain was gone forever, the person whose absence carved a permanent void, simply walks back into your world as if from a dream. The profound shock, the disbelieving joy, the resurfacing grief, and the overwhelming torrent of unanswerable questions all collide in this singular, heart-stopping, world-altering moment. Season 19 of Heartland ignites with an explosive revelation, and Ty's reappearance is a solemn promise that everything, absolutely everything, is about to change. Amy Fleming is positioned on the familiar porch of the Heartland Ranch, the sanctuary she has poured her soul into building, a haven for her and her beloved daughter, Lindy. It's a tranquil prairie evening, the kind that usually brings peace, but this fragile calm is abruptly shattered by the distinct, approaching sound of footsteps on the gravel path. Her heart lurches, a frantic bird against her ribs, her breath hitches, caught somewhere in her throat. That distinctive, familiar gait, it's unmistakable, etched into her very being. She pivots, her eyes locking onto a figure materializing from the deepening twilight, a silhouette from a chapter of her life she thought was forever closed. Borden. The impact of the sight is instantaneous, visceral. Her body turns to stone as she desperately struggles to process, to comprehend the impossible vision before her. The undeniable love of her life, her soulmate, the man she had tragically lost and mourned with every fiber of her being for so many agonizing years, is standing there, vibrant, breathing, undeniably present before her very eyes. For an immeasurable moment, nothing else exists. Nothing else matters beyond the overwhelming, cataclysmic surge of raw emotions that engulfs her. Is this truly happening? Could this be a cruel figment of her overstressed imagination, a waking dream? Her pulse skyrockets as years of corrosive pain, a legion of unanswered questions, and a flood of poignant memories of the life they should have shared, the future they meticulously planned together, come rushing back, threatening to drown her. Ty's own stunned reaction perfectly mirrors Amy. He remains rooted to the spot, equally thunderstruck and visibly overcome by a maelstrom of emotions. The long, arduous years he has spent separated from Heartland, the fabricated life he believed he was living, abruptly dissolve, feeling as ephemeral and distant as a half-forgotten dream. He carries the weight of so much he needs to explain, a universe of words left unsaid, apologies unspoken. But in this charged, suspended moment, words utterly fail him, inadequate to bridge the chasm of time and pain. He is acutely aware of how profoundly he has wounded Amy, how deeply his inexplicable disappearance has scarred her very soul, but the sheer gravity of it all, the accumulated sorrow, feels too immense, too crushing to bear. Amy's mind is a chaotic whirlwind of disbelief and frantic confusion. How could this be possible? Where could he possibly have been all these intervening years? Was he ensnared in some clandestine witness protection program? Was he erroneously presumed deceased due to a catastrophic miscommunication, a bureaucratic blunder? A multitude of questions, sharp and urgent, hang suspended and heavy in the evening air. Yet paradoxically, none of them seem to hold any real significance in the face of this stunning, impossible, miraculous reality. What truly matters, what eclipses everything else in this breathtaking instant, is that Ty has returned, and everything they once cherished, everything they once were to each other, is suddenly, tantalizingly within their grasp once more. But the unspoken question looms, at what conceivable cost? This reunion is far from a simple, joyous affair. As the initial shock gradually, painstakingly recedes, the profound emotional complexity of the situation begins to assert itself with unforgiving clarity. Amy grapples with an overwhelming, tumultuous mix of unadulterated joy, stark disbelief, and a simmering, righteous anger. The life she has so carefully, so resiliently constructed in Ty's absence, has been fraught with its own unique set of challenges. Yet she had, against all odds, managed to find a fragile peace with it, a way to move forward. Ty's sudden, unexpected return acts as a key unlocking all the carefully suppressed pain, the persistent heartache, and the vibrant, bittersweet memories of the life they once so hopefully, so naively dreamed of sharing. She finds herself utterly at a loss, uncertain how to process this deluge of conflicting emotions, let alone how to even begin to contemplate letting Ty back into the carefully ordered world of her life after everything that has transpired, after all the silent, lonely years. The tension between them is palpable, a thick, charged current in the air as they stand there, separated by more than just physical distance, neither knowing what to say, what to do next. Their reunion is not the stuff of simple fairy tales. It is heavily laden, fraught with the crushing weight of years irrevocably lost, of a love that, despite everything, never truly fully faded, and of the profound enduring grief that Amy has shouldered, day in and day out, for all this time. The silence stretches, taut and resonant, between them, heavy with a universe of unspoken words, unasked questions, and unexpressed recriminations. Ty makes a tentative effort to bridge the chasm, his voice strained as he begins to explain the convoluted circumstances surrounding his disappearance, how he was coerced into hiding, the complex, life-altering reasons behind his prolonged and agonizing absence. But his words, however sincere, feel woefully inadequate, like pebbles against a mountain of sorrow. How can mere explanations ever truly compensate for all the precious, irretrievable lost time, for the stolen moments, the missed milestones? The emotions swirling between them are raw, unfiltered, and intensely powerful. Amy listens, her expression a mask of conflicting feelings, but her mind races, a frantic torrent of thoughts. How could she ever truly forgive him for what felt like an abandonment, for his not being there during the times she needed him the most, during her darkest hours? But then she truly looks at him, not just at the ghost of her memory, but at the man standing before her, and she sees, beneath the lines of hardship and time, the man she once loved with every fiber of her being, the man who shared her deepest dreams and her most fervent hopes for their shared future. Despite the searing pain, despite the long, agonizing years filled with unanswered questions and gnawing uncertainty, there remains an undeniable part of her, a resilient ember, that still feels that same profound, inexplicable pull towards him, a connection that time and tragedy have failed to extinguish. As they tentatively begin to converse, to navigate the treacherous terrain of their shared history, they slowly start to unravel the intricate, tangled complexities of their past, peeling back layers of grief and misunderstanding. Amy reluctantly, painfully, admits to herself that her profound grief, the mourning she endured, wasn't entirely it was in its own way a testament to a love so potent, so deeply rooted, that it was strong enough to withstand the relentless tests of time, the cruelty of distance, and even the seemingly insurmountable finality of what she believed to be death itself. Yet, Ty's return is not a perfect magical solution. It's not a simple panacea for all their accumulated wounds. It represents a chance for profound healing. Yes, undoubtedly, but it also serves as a stark, poignant reminder of all the precious things they have both irrevocably lost along their separate, arduous paths. In the very midst of this emotional maelstrom, this chaotic collision of past and present, a new, uncertain chapter hesitantly begins. Ty's return isn't solely about the monumental task of reconnecting with Amy, as overwhelming as that prospect is. It's about the equally daunting challenge of reconnecting with every aspect of the life he was forced to leave behind, the cherished family he was torn from, the very existence he had to abruptly walk away from, leaving an unfillable void. And in the innocent, questioning eyes of Amy's daughter, Lindy, a child he is only now meeting, he sees a fragile, hopeful glimpse of a future that could still potentially be theirs, a future he is suddenly, fiercely desperate to reclaim and rebuild, piece by precious piece. The initial tentative moment shared between Ty and Lindy is incredibly tender, almost achingly so, filled with the quiet, reverent awe of a father meeting his own daughter for the very first time, a miracle tinged with profound sorrow. There is an almost unbearable amount of love palpable in that single suspended moment, but it is inextricably intertwined with a deep, pervasive sense of irretrievable loss. The countless years he has missed in her young life, the milestones unseen, the bedtime stories unread, are an impossible burden to ignore, a silent testament to their stolen time, yet the fragile, persistent hope of what might still be possible, what they could still become to each other, lingers palpably, almost tangibly, in the air between them, a beacon in the emotional fog. The profound impact of Ty's unexpected return doesn't just send ripples through Amy's carefully reconstructed life, it shakes the very foundations of the entire extended Heartland family. Jack, the patriarch, the man who raised Ty as if he were his own flesh and blood, is visibly moved, almost to tears, by the miraculous reunion, but his joy is heavily laced with a deep-seated suspicion and a natural ingrained caution. He has been a first-hand witness to the devastating pain Ty's prolonged absence inflicted upon Amy, upon them all, and he doesn't know if he can simply readily forgive and forget years of heartache and uncertainty. However, as the initial shock gives way to the passing days, Jack begins to gradually soften, his stern exterior showing cracks of understanding, slowly internalizing the difficult truth that genuine forgiveness is an essential non-negotiable part of the arduous healing process. His fiercely protective instincts, particularly concerning Amy and young Lindy, remain incredibly strong, a testament to his unwavering love, but his deep, abiding affection for Ty, the boy he helped shape into a man, also runs incredibly deep, creating a powerful internal conflict. Georgie, too, is profoundly affected, her world tilted on its axis by Ty's sudden reappearance. To her, he was always more than just a family friend. He was akin to an older brother, a steadfast figure of guidance and support during her formative years. Now, with him inexplicably back in their lives, she is forcibly compelled to confront a complex tapestry of emotions she mistakenly believed she had successfully buried, locked away long ago. The intricate, often unspoken, complexities of their shared past are not so easily dismissed or ignored. And as she stands face to face with Ty once again, a man who is both achingly familiar and yet subtly changed by his ordeal, she finds herself grappling with a resurgence of feelings, a potent mix of joy, confusion, and lingering hurt that she never ever expected to resurface with such intensity. The far-reaching impact of Ty's return is keenly felt in every corner of their lives, from the strained conversations around a Heartland dinner table, where silences speak volumes, to the daily rhythms of work on the ranch, where old painful wounds, slowly tentatively, begin the process of healing and fragile new connections are cautiously, hopefully formed. But amidst this nascent healing, this fragile blossoming of hope, there remains a constant, almost palpable undercurrent of unresolved tension. Ty's return, as miraculous as it may seem, doesn't magically erase the hardships of the past, the years of sorrow and misunderstanding. It simply yet profoundly offers a precious, unexpected chance to rewrite the future, to forge a new path forward. And as of yet, no one, least of all Amy and Ty, knows with any certainty what that unwritten future will ultimately look like. The enduring story of Heartland, as it has consistently beautifully been, is a testament to resilience, the enduring power of love, and the difficult, often painful journey towards redemption. And now, with Ty unexpectedly, dramatically back in the picture, it's a story that is poised to take a thrilling, emotional, and utterly unpredictable new turn, captivating its audience anew. As the initial days bleed into weeks, the stark, undeniable reality of Ty's return begins to truly settle in, not just for a still-reeling Amy, but for every single individual at Heartland. The ranch, which had for so long served as a cherished place of solace, healing, and unwavering stability, now feels more like an emotional battleground, a crucible for raw conflicting feelings. While Amy and Ty painstakingly awkward navigate the labyrinthine complexities of their highly charged reunion, the remainder of the family simultaneously struggles to process the shocking, almost unbelievable, return of a man they had all mourned, a man they thought they had irrevocably lost, to the annals of time and tragedy. Each family member, from the stoic patriarch Jack down to a bewildered and conflicted Georgie, has their own intensely personal emotional journey to undertake, their own private reckoning with this new reality, and none of them can entirely escape the pervasive heavy weight of Ty's prolonged unexplained absence, and the myriad questions it still evokes. For Amy, undoubtedly the most difficult part is the monumental task of finding a way to somehow integrate Ty, this ghost from her past, now made flesh, back into the intricate, established tapestry of her current life. She has spent years, countless days and nights, not just rebuilding her professional career and the physical ranch itself, but also meticulously, painfully reconstructing her own very identity in the wake of his loss. She has learned, through sheer necessity and an indomitable spirit, to be fiercely strong on her own, to capably raise Lindy as a single devoted mother, and to somehow find a measure of peace, a fragile equilibrium, with the profound, life-altering loss of the man she considered the love of her life. But now, confronted with the undeniable physical presence of Ty, she is forcibly compelled to question everything she thought she knew, everything she had come to believe about herself, her resilience, and her capacity to move on. What does it truly mean, in practical day-to-day terms, to have him back in her life, in Lindy's life? Can they, after all this time, all this pain, simply pick up where they so abruptly, so tragically, left off all those years ago? Or has too much time elapsed, too much unspoken pain festered, too many unbridgeable chasms formed between them, for their fractured relationship to ever truly completely heal? Their initial conversations are excruciatingly tentative, almost painfully so, punctuated by awkward heavy pauses and frustratingly half-finished sentences, the air thick with unspoken emotion. There is a universe of things that need to be said, apologies to be made, explanations to be offered, yet the right words, the healing words, prove stubbornly elusive, never coming easily to either of them. Ty, with a voice heavy with the burden of his past, begins to share his story, painstakingly piecing together the fragmented, harrowing events that ultimately led to his sudden, inexplicable disappearance. He speaks of the dire circumstances that forced him to leave everything he knew and loved, detailing how a cascade of unforeseen events inexorably placed him in an incredibly dangerous, untenable position, and how, ostensibly for his own safety and protection, he was spirited away by shadowy individuals who promised to keep him hidden, to keep him safe from unseen threats. His proffered reasons for remaining away for so long, for maintaining such a complete and devastating silence, are undeniably painful to hear, yet they also carry a certain grim, understandable logic. And as Amy listens, her heart a battlefield of conflicting emotions, she can feel a potent, confusing mixture of profound relief and surging, righteous anger rising inexorably within her. He wasn't, it seems, truly gone by his own volition. He didn't, it appears, intentionally abandon her, abandon their life together. But the deep festering hurt of all those desolate, lost years, the years spent mourning a man who was still alive, still stubbornly, painfully, lingers, a bitter taste in her mouth. Amy's anger, when it surfaces, is palpable, a righteous fury born of years of unanswered questions and unimaginable grief. How could he possibly leave without a single trace, without a word of explanation? How could he allow her, allow their family, to grieve him so profoundly, for such an agonizingly long period? These questions, sharp and accusatory, hang heavy and oppressive in the air between them, and every time she looks at Ty, at the face that is both achingly familiar and yet subtly altered by time and hardship, they seem to grow larger,
more insistent, harder to ignore, harder to forgive. But beneath the simmering anger, beneath the layers of hurt and betrayal, there still flickers a resilient, undeniable ember of the profound, all-consuming love she once harbored for him. The love that, despite everything, never truly completely faded, not even in the desolate face of all the subsequent heartbreak and loneliness. Tai, on the other hand, is visibly, almost overwhelmingly, filled with a profound, soul-crushing regret. He never ever intended to hurt Amy, never desired to leave her adrift in a sea of unanswered questions and unbearable sorrow. He attempts to explain how, even though he was alive, even though he was physically well, he possessed absolutely no means of reaching out to her, no way to alleviate her suffering. He was, he recounts, effectively cut off, completely isolated from the world he knew, and repeatedly forcefully instructed to remain hidden, to maintain his silence at all costs. The life he believed he was living during those lost years, he explains, was a pale, empty imitation, bearing no resemblance whatsoever to the vibrant, love-filled existence he had so abruptly, so unwillingly, left behind at Heartland. He insists that he never stopped thinking about Amy, never for a single moment stopped loving her with his entire being, but the ever-present, paralyzing fear of inadvertent bringing their family, into the dangerous, volatile situation he found himself entangled in, ultimately kept him silent, kept him away. This staggering revelation, this glimpse into his hidden life, shakes Amy to her very core. It doesn't magically erase the years of pain, the phantom limb of his absence, but it does begin to provide a tormented kind of sense, a harrowing context, for the otherwise inexplicable years of suffocating silence. She finds herself